Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're going on a deep dive into the world of architecture.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, we'll be exploring the ideas and principles of design and architecture, a guide to timeless spaces. Ever look at a building and just think, wow, that's amazing,
All the time.
right? Well, we're going to learn why. We'll see how these principles make spaces both beautiful and super functional.
Yeah, because it's not just about looking pretty, right?
Exactly. So let's jump right in. First up, balance.
Okay, balance.
I bet you think symmetry, right? Like both sides matching perfectly.
Yeah, that's the most obvious, like the Taj Mahal, symmetrical beauty.
Totally. But hold on, because there's way more to balance than just that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's this thing called asymmetrical balance. It's like it's more of a visual balancing act, even if things aren't mirrored.
Like, think about falling water, that house built over the waterfall.
Frank Lloyd Wright. Oh, yeah, that's a perfect example. It's all balanced, but not symmetrical.
And then there's radio balance. That's when everything fans out from a central point,
Like those amazing rose windows in Gothic cathedrals.
right? Or domes, or even sunflower. See, balance sets the mood, how we feel in a space.
It really
But a
does.
building's got to fit in with its surroundings too, right? That's where proportion and scale come in.
Oh, for sure. Proportion is all about the relationships between different parts within the building.
Like the size of a door compared to the wall it's in.
Yeah, or a window compared to the room. Get those wrong and it just feels weird.
Totally off. And then scale is about how the whole building relates to everything around it and to us, the people using it.
Right, like you wouldn't want a tiny little hut next to a giant skyscraper. They'd be totally out of scale.
Makes you feel like you're in a movie or something. But architects have some tricks for getting this right. Have you heard of the golden ratio?
Oh yeah, 1 to 1.618. It's this mathematical ratio that pops up all over in nature.
And architects use it to make buildings look more, well, more harmonious and pleasing.
Like, look at the Parthenon in Greece. That's the golden ratio in action, and it's stunning.
Ancient stuff, still relevant today. Pretty cool, huh?
It really is. And then there's this guy, Le Corbusier, more modern. He come up with the modular system. It's all about using human proportions to design buildings.
So he was basically making buildings fit people perfectly.
In a nutshell, yeah, he thought that would make spaces more comfy and easy to use.
Smart. Okay, so we've got balance, we've got the building fitting in its space. But what about making things interesting to look at?
Ah, you're talking about rhythm.
Rhythm, like music.
Kind of. It's about repeating elements to create a sense of movement. Think about a row of arches or columns.
Ah, so it's not just one thing repeated, it's the pattern that matters.
Bingo. There's regular rhythm where everything repeats at the same intervals, like those columns we mentioned. But then you've got progressive rhythm. Things change gradually, like in the Guggenheim Museum. That spiraling ramp gets higher as you go, pulling you along.
That's a good way to get people to the top. And then, what if an architect wants to highlight something specific, make a statement?
Contrast. You got to juxtapose things, like put light next to dark, smooth next to rough.
It's all about making things stand out, right?
Yeah, you could use different materials too, like the Louvre Pyramid, all glass and modern, right in front of that old Grand Palace. The protrast makes both look even cooler.
Opposites attract in architecture too, I guess. But sometimes you want things to blend together seamlessly.
That's when you need unity and harmony. It's all about making sure everything works together as a whole.
So a consistent style, a color scheme that makes sense, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and repeating elements helps too. It ties everything together.
Like a visual theme running through it all. Speaking of, we should mention a building's got to work, right? It can't just be pretty.
Absolutely. It needs to be functional.
So what makes a building functional? Is it just about having the right rooms?
It's way more than that. You've got to use space efficiently, make sure people can move around comfortably, and these days, sustainability is huge.
Using energy wisely, being good to the environment.
Exactly, and think about buildings like the Burj Khalifa, the tallest one in the world. It's stunning, but it also has to stand up to crazy winds and stuff. That's functionality on a whole other level.
It's almost like they're defying gravity. Okay, we've talked about making a building fit in, but what about making certain parts stand out?
Emphasis. That's where focal points come in.
Focal points, like the main attraction.
Exactly. Architects use size, scale, lighting, even special design elements to draw your eye to a certain spot.
Like the Sydney Opera House. Those sails are impossible to miss.
Right. They give the building its personality, its iconic look.
Speaking of iconic, we haven't even touched on light and shadow yet. Those must play a huge role, right?
Oh, they're essential. Light can totally change how a space feels. Natural light, like sunlight, makes everything feel open and airy.
And then there's artificial light, like lamps and stuff, which is more about highlighting specific things.
Yeah, it's like painting with light. You can create all sorts of moods and effects.
Makes sense. Now, last but not least, what about how we move through a building?
That's all about movement and flow. A good building guides you effortlessly. You don't even have to think about it.
So clear pathways, hallways that make sense, easy to find entrances and exits.
Exactly. Think about a well-designed airport. Millions of people moving through, but it all flows smoothly.
Organized chaos.
You could say that.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. And you know what? I'm just getting started, but for now, we'll have to take a little break. Stay tuned because we're going even deeper into the world of architectural design. I'll see you on the flip side.
You know, it's funny, we've been talking about these big, fancy buildings.
Yeah, all those famous landmarks.
Right. But you know, these principles apply to our homes, too.
Oh, really?
Think about it. Your living room, for example. Ever feel like something's not quite right? Maybe it's a balance issue.
Now that you mention it.
Like maybe one side of the room feels too heavy with furniture while the other side is empty.
Oh my gosh, that's my living room. It's like a sofa magnet on one side and a vast emptiness on the other.
See, balance. It's all about visual weight. You don't need perfect symmetry, but you need to even things out. Maybe try a big plant or a cool piece of art on that empty side.
Huh, so it's like a counterbalance visually. I'm going to have to try that. But okay, back to architecture. What about like more modern buildings? Do these principles still apply?
Of course. The style might change, but the basic ideas stay the same. Look at a skyscraper like the Shard in London. It's super modern.
Yeah, all glass and steel.
Right, but it still uses proportion, scale, rhythm, contrast, all that good stuff.
So even those sleek minimalist buildings still follow the rules?
They're not really rules, more like guidelines. You know, it's about understanding how design works.
Got it. Are there any modern architects who you think are like the masters of this?
Oh, so many. But Zaha Hadid, she was incredible.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of her buildings. They're like futuristic almost.
Exactly. She was a pioneer of this style called deconstructivism, super unique, and she used these principles in such a cool way, creating these flowing, curved spaces.
Like that building in Azerbaijan, right? The one that looks like a wave.
Yep, the Haydar Aliyev Center. It's like architecture meets sculpture.
Amazing. But even with all that creativity, she was still working within these principles. It's like a foundation for good design, no matter the style.
That's the beauty of it, you know? It's not about limiting creativity, it's about giving it a framework to flourish.
This makes me think, it's not just architecture, right? These principles are everywhere.
You're absolutely right. Think about graphic design, websites, even fashion. It's all connected.
Oh yeah, websites. I hate it when a website is like so cluttered and confusing, you can't find anything.
That's bad design. A good website should flow smoothly, just like a good building. It's about guiding the user through the information.
So it's all about creating a good experience, whether it's a building or a website.
Exactly. And that's what's so powerful about these principles. They help us understand how design shapes our experiences, how it makes us feel.
It's like a secret language that we're starting to decode. And the more we learn, the more we can appreciate good design everywhere we look.
That's the goal. It's about opening our eyes to the power of design in all its forms.
This is making me want to go out and like redesign my whole world.
Well, hold on just a second. Before you do that, we've got a little more to uncover about this world of design principles.
Okay, deep divers, we're back and ready to wrap up. As we've been talking about all this, it's really hit me that these architectural ideas, these principles,
Yeah.
they go way beyond buildings, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. They're like the DNA of good design, no matter what you're designing.
Seriously, give me an example, something totally different from architecture.
Okay, how about food? Think about a chef plating a dish, making it look all fancy.
Oh yeah, those like gourmet meals with the tiny portions.
Well, yeah, sometimes, but the point is they're using balance, like how they arrange the food on the plate.
To make it look pretty.
Right, and contrast like different colors and textures next to each other, and even rhythm, like repeating elements to make it interesting.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. It's like each plate is a mini building.
Kinda, yeah. Both appeal to our senses, you eat with your eyes first, as they say.
This is blowing my mind. It's like good design is everywhere if you know how to look for it.
That's the whole point. It's not just about pretty buildings, it's about creating experiences, making life better through design.
Yeah, making things that are both beautiful and functional.
Exactly. Form and function working together.
I love that. And you know what? I'm feeling inspired. Like, I want to go out and redesign my whole house, my wardrobe, maybe even my life.
Well, hold your horses. The key takeaway here is these principles are tools, not rules. Use them to guide you, not restrict you.
Right. It's about understanding the why, not just copying what others have done.
Exactly. And hey, if you're feeling inspired, that's awesome. Go out there and create.
And you know what? If you want to keep exploring this whole design world with us, make sure you're subscribed to the Deep Dive.
We've got a whole lot more deep dives coming your way into all sorts of cool topics.
Until next time, Deep Divers, stay curious out there.